Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the planning meeting on what date is it today? It's Wednesday, the 21st of October. Please note this meeting is being recorded and may be broadcast via the authority's internet site. The images and sound recording may also be used for training purposes within the authority. So there we are. So the first item on the agenda is apologies for absence. Are there any?
We have none, Chair.
Lovely. The second item on the agenda is declaration of interest. Well, note section A and B. Are there any declarations of interest? None? No. So the third item on the agenda is the Merthyr Tydfil Replacement Local Development Plan 2016 to 2031 Supplementary Planning Guidance. So I understand Craig has taken us through this report. Is that right?
That's correct, yes.
Oh, right. Right you are then. Well, we'll let you carry on.
No problem. Just to sort of give a brief summary of the report and then sort of outline the recommendation. As councillors will be aware, the replacement local development plan was adopted in January of this year. But as part of work on that LDP, there are certain topic areas where it's identified that further guidance would clarify how specific policies will work when the LDP is implemented. There are 4 draft supplementary planning guidance notes presented to committee tonight. SPG Note 1, Affordable Housing, SPG Note 2, Planning Obligations, SPG Note 3, Archaeology and Archaeologically Sensitive Areas, and SPG Note 4, a Design Guide for Household Development. SPG Notes 1, 2 and 4 are essentially updates from notes that were in place under the previous LDP. SPG Note 3 covers a new topic area that is now covered in the replacement local development plan. The sort of purpose of the report and what we want to aim for tonight is to approve these 4 draft SPG notes for public consultation. The findings of this consultation then will be reported back to council at a later date with the final versions of the SPG notes then being adopted.
Oh, right, thanks. Well, are there any questions? See, Councillor Clive Jones was the first.
Thank you, Chair. My question is in relation to the supplementary planning guidance on affordable housing. I've got 2 questions. Can you please clarify what exactly is the difference between on-site and off-site? It's mentioned a few times there, but unless I'm missing something, I couldn't identify exactly what the difference is in the context of affordable housing.
Yeah, essentially the difference is on-site is where we would expect the affordable housing element to be delivered on-site as part of that development. Off-site, it could be delivered if the developer has land elsewhere or is able to access land elsewhere. They may provide the affordable housing in line with the policy in terms of the quantity, but it would be provided elsewhere. So,
am I right in saying the developer could apply for planning development with, let's say, 10 houses on one site, and there could be 1 or 2 connected with that site, but away from that site? Is that correct?
That potentially, yeah. That's what the sort of off-site provision means, but it would still have to comply with all other planning policies, and it would have to be meeting the need that the original development creates in the first place.
Okay, thank you. And Chair, I got a second question, also on the same affordable housing supplementary planning guidance document. It's on page 7 of that, and it is in relation to paragraph 4.2 and 4.4 of that. And it says in 4.2, it's the council's most recent LHMA, local housing market assessment, identifies an annual need of 367 affordable dwellings, with the vast majority of need being for social rented units. But then when you look at paragraph 4.4, it says development proposals should deliver up to 253 affordable dwellings across the county borough by 2031. So am I missing something?
No, so the figure in paragraph 4.2, that this sort of highlights the difference between what the actual need is and what planning can do to sort of meet the affordable housing need. The level of need identified of 367 units a year, I think, which translates up to over 5,000 affordable dwellings needed over the plan period. That's calculated through a methodology that's set by Welsh Government, and sort of you have to follow that methodology. In terms of what your LDP and your planning policy can then do, that then has to take economic viability into consideration. Like obviously that figure of 5,500 dwellings in terms of the need over 15 years is more than twice the total allocation of dwellings in the LDP. So what we have to do then, we have to use as many policy mechanisms as we can, such as the sort of policy with specific targets for sites, 10%, 5% on private developments, the affordable housing exception sites policy as well, and then look to allocate sites for 100% affordable housing as well. But you have to set targets that are deemed to be economically viable. And given the sort of market conditions in Merthyr, that's why the policy targets do tend to be lower. But that sort of strange issue in terms of the need being a very high number in comparison to overall housing provision is quite a common occurrence across Wales.
So in the case of this, the 253 affordable dwellings across the country by 2031, in 11 years' time, because there's a significant gap between the numbers, there is likely to be still, in 11 years' time, a huge demand for affordable housing. Yes,
I think there's always likely to be significant demand for social housing, and effectively the methodology that we have to use as prescribed by Welsh Government, a large chunk of that is taken from the social housing waiting list. And obviously, as you never ever, or you're very unlikely to ever be in a position, to sort of have a waiting list of 0. So it's basically making sure that you're able to deal with that to as much as you can. And it's not just about the actual quantity. What the methodology we do use and the LHMA does then give us more detail in terms of the types of affordable housing that we need, whether 1-beds, 3-bed units, that sort of data as well.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. I think next, David Chaplin was next. I think he's had his hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just a few questions on archaeology. The first is on point 9.5.1. It mentions Moorless Castle, and it states it's in Park Ward. Park obviously isn't a ward. It's in Dowless Ward. So that's a bit of a typo.
What paragraph is it? Again, sorry.
9.5.1. Moorless Castle, and it mentions it's in Pant Ward, and obviously Pant isn't a ward, Dowless is.
Yeah.
The next is 9.8.3, where it states there's a long history of working back to the 18th century on the site. There's actually a foundry in the forestry on the top of the site that's history goes back to making musket balls for the Civil War, and in fact the workings, mineral workings and site workings on that site, go back way before the 18th century. So I just want to make that point. And on my final point, obviously this is going out to consultation. I believe, is that an online consultation?
It will be a lot more online based, the consultation this time. Usually with the SPGs, we we've got our own consultee database where people be emailed and sent letters directly to notify them of the consultation. However, as council offices and the libraries, which is the other main venue that we deposit hard documents, are closed, we are going to be doing more in terms of online consultation this time around. We're hoping that we'll be having some sort of Teams or Zoom events such as this on the specific SPGs once we sort of gauge some interest on those from our stakeholders.
Yeah, obviously some of the consultees may not be online, Craig. So have we thought of helping them or training them that they can go online or giving them some support?
Yeah, I think as part of when we'll be advertising the consultations through the council website and, like I said, through direct emails and on social media. I think as part of those adverts, we will sort of be trying to get people involved who wouldn't be able, who don't usually sort of use those mechanisms, even if it's through friends or family contact, and then we'll be telling them to get in touch with us to sort of see how we can help and sort of carry out this consultation.
Thank you very much, Craig, for that. Thank you.
I think Judith wants to come in on that. Is that right?
Yeah, thanks, Clive. Yeah, just in relation to Councillor Chaplin's comments about the historic dates, thank you for that information. A lot of the information in this particular SPG has been provided to us by Glamorgan Gwent Archaeological Trust. So we'll pass on that information that you've given us, because obviously they perhaps not aware of that, so they can improve their records by doing that as well. So thanks for that.
Yeah. Declan Salmon. I think Declan Salmon was the next one with his hand up.
David, are you finished?
Yes, fine, yep. Declan. Thank you, Declan.
My question is also on the archaeology and archaeologically sensitive areas. I'm just a bit lost on this, to be honest. Is what's changing from what we are doing? Is this going to make it more difficult for new developments to take place? It does say that the integrity of our historic environment assets will be conserved and enhanced. And the reason I'm asking is, probably all councillors had an email yesterday. I think it's supposed to be not supposed to be made public. It's confidential and market sensitive, so I can't give too much information in case it's going out on the public. In that email, they say we have already completed much of the baseline technical work, including engineering, planning, ecology, and environmental heritage and archaeology. Would that mean that if this gets passed and the planning application comes in after that, that they'd have to do more work? Or I'm just a little bit lost on it, if you don't mind.
There's the potential for applicants to have to do more work, but I think the primary aim of basically these archaeologically sensitive areas are new designations in the replacement LDP. They weren't in the previous local development plan. They give a bit more context and a bit of information to people up front. So like I said, prior to submitting an application, this gives applicants and developers the chance to sort of flag up if there's any archaeological work required, and to get it done at an earlier stage in development as well.
Would this also mean that new developments would have to preserve what is there? Because there's been a couple of developments, say B&Q, for example, and maybe the college where a lot of people weren't happy that archaeologically sensitive buildings were just covered over. Would that mean in future that they would be preserved?
The archaeological sensitive areas are not what's referred to in the LDP as designated historic assets. They are undesignated historic assets. And there's two tiers to the policy CW1 in the LDP. Basically, the proposals that would have an effect on designated assets, such as your listed buildings or your SAMs, then they would need to be preserved or enhanced. That's where the preserve or enhanced comes in there. In terms of the undesignated assets, the wording is a bit more flexible in terms of what would happen if the development was there, in that a development would have to have regard to their special character and archaeological importance. So like I said, if there's a specific asset, such as a listed building or a SAM within an archaeological sensitive area, then the sort of the preserve and enhance would apply to that. If it's just the archaeological sensitive area itself and there isn't a specific designated asset, then the policy does have a bit more flexibility then.
Okay, cheers, Craig.
Right. Are there any other questions?
No more questions.
If there's no question, we go on to, has anyone got any comments? Clive Jones?
Thank you, Chair. It's on the one to deal with the archaeology. It's just a significant figure. And I'll read it out. It's on page 7 of it. It's under paragraph 7 as well, 7.1. And it says, currently recorded within the HER, there are 80 scheduled ancient monuments, 287 listed buildings, and 344 archaeological sites within the Merthyr Tydfil County Borough Council's administrative area. I understand that for a county borough of our size, that really is a significant number of listed buildings and archaeological sites. So we've it's many of those are and will be tourist attractions.
Oh, thanks. Are there any other comments?
Yeah, no more comments, Chair.
Well, the recommendation. Oh, there's so a lot here. Yeah, well,
someone to move the recommendation, Chair.
Yeah, sorry.
We need someone to move the recommendation.
Yes, I was just looking. Yes, if someone would like to move the recommendations.
I move, Chair.
Is there a seconder? Oh, I second. Oh, yeah. Right. Oh, so all in favour?
Yeah, if all in favour could raise their hands.
Raise their hands, yeah.
That's 10. Just wondering who's.
I think is that unanimous?
That's unanimous. That's carried, Chair.
Carried, yes. Fair enough then. So that's carried. The next item on the agenda is any other business deemed urgent. I've not got any. Has anyone got any comments to make? No.
Chair.
Yeah.
Sorry. It's just been brought to my attention by he's not on the planning committee, but another councillor, that they're having a little bit of difficulty printing off forms to be able to bring in items for committee consideration. So I'd just like to raise the point. I don't know what can be done about it. By the time the person asked for the form, it had to be posted out and sent back. It was too late. The 10 days had gone.
Oh.
You don't need to print them. You can just email them back and fill them in online.
I did see the email trail, and he wasn't told that.
Okay, I'll make sure officers make it clear that they can be emailed back and they don't need to be printed and posted.
Okay, lovely.
Thanks.
Cheers, Judith.
Well, thanks very much then. Well, good night, everyone. See you next week.
All the best, everyone.
Cheers, all. Take care.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Great.